Hello, hello, hello. I am so excited to be here with you again. It is your host, Java Madison, and we are here live in the studio on another one of our fantastic shows, Book It, and we have an awesome lineup for you on today. Just to let you know, our next few shows are going to be coming up, and we're going to have with us Pastor Lola Moore. She's going to speak to us on December 24th, on her book, Theme Pursued. You don't want to miss this awesome thing about the magical, powerful love of God and his relentless pursuit of you and I. Hey, I'm going to be in the place. I hope you are too. That's Lola Moore on next week, the December 24th, just in time for Christmas. And then we also have on December 31st to kick off 2020. Listen, if 2020 has been rough for you, 2021 is going to require even more faith. And so we're going to get a faith upgrade, Faith 2.0. That's with Pastor Gamal Alexander, all the way from South Central California. But on tonight, that's right, it's going down. We have with us Damian Chandler. He is the husband of one, the father of three, and he is one of our most dynamic gifts to the body of Christ. He is in Sacramento, California, pastoring at Capital City Seventh-day Adventist Church, and he has written a book. This book is entitled The Crooked Christmas Tree. Oh my goodness, right now, everybody who is watching, I want you to go ahead and go to secsda.org and /book it. You're going to receive a free copy. That's right. You're going to receive a free copy. Just go to that link right now. The first 10 people, I'm going to send you this copy just in time for Christmas. Hey, before the end of the show, next 10 minutes, I'll have it sent to you if you put your email down in the link, or if you go to that link again and receive this free copy. I'm going to show the link one more time for you, and then we are going to dive in and have a great time with Pastor Chandler. We're excited about his book. And so without further ado, I want to bring on our special guest, Pastor Damian Chandler. How are you, sir?
Dude, I am doing well. Java, I tell you every single time, man, you need to be the hype man for Jesus, because, bro, the way you put it down, it's like you are introducing superstars. Whoa. Appreciate the encouragement, man, but also blessings on you. Thank you for everything you do.
Well, listen, man, I thank you too, man, for not just only being a fabulous author, man, an awesome preacher. You know, listen, can I just be honest with you, man? I remember one time you preached a sermon at the Howard Performing Arts there in Barron Springs, Michigan, man, and you had a real live potter. He was making a clay pot, dude. I'm telling you, man, it was fabulous, man, to see this guy mold and shape this pot. But also, man, you've been a blessing to the body in regards to your ability to minister in music, man. And so I'm just so excited today, man, about your book, The Crooked Christmas Tree, man. Listen, tell me, what drove you to write this book?
Well, actually, it's funny that you brought up the example that you gave about visuals. Throughout Jesus' life, man, his role was to make God simple. He wasn't trying to be complicated. He wasn't trying to be scholarly. He was trying to explain God through images that people understand. And Java, you got to forgive me, man, but I am just not a very intelligent guy. I need God to simplify who he is for me. And I find that he does that through simple stories or simple illustrations that express the depth of who he is. And so throughout my ministry, man, I've always desired to take the mystery of God and simplify it. When I'm finished preaching, I want kids to walk up to me and say, yo, I understood that. That meant something to me.
Right.
That's always my gauge. So a few years ago, I was pastoring at Madison Mission, and I told this story, and people kept talking about the story. And then I heard God's call, and God said, man, I need you to write me a book. And Java, I said to God, I'm not an author. I am not an author. I could barely finish my sermons. I'm not a book author. But if you take this book to the world, I'll write it. And God made a bet with me. He says, I need you to finish that book by December 31st, 2013. And I did. And then I turned to him. I said, now it's your turn. It's your turn. It's your turn to do what you said you were going to do, because I did what I said I was going to do.
Now, listen, I was in Foley, Alabama at Barnes and Nobles, and I'm looking on the bookshelf, and I saw this book, The Crooked Christmas Tree, and I said, I know this dude. I mean, man, it was phenomenal, man.
Oh, man. The journey, Java, is a journey of faith. I mean, if we don't even get into the book, the journey is really meant to encourage some person who's a dreamer. You know, if you're a dreamer and you're listening out there, this journey, this story is not about what God did for me, but what God can do for you. Java, if you let me tell a little bit about this journey.
Yes, please do. You know, I'll get it started, man. You said in your book, you said, so my wife and I decided that a live Christmas tree would be the first of our many family traditions. My wife, the timely one, wanted to have the tree up the day after Thanksgiving, and I wanted the smell of fresh pie in the house. This is what you said introducing this story of the Crooked Christmas Tree. Tell us about that experience.
Oh, man. Well, I'm actually going to rewind a little bit to tell you about it. Let me rewind a little bit.
Yeah.
And just unfold. So when I was finished writing this book, Java, I literally said to God, I am not going to publish this book myself. I'm not interested in that. That's not what you said. You said you would take this book to the world. God sent me to this website that had all of these literary agents. I didn't even know what a literary agent was. Yeah. But basically, these are the people that introduce you to the major publishing houses. Java, I literally went down the list, and God says, don't call any person further than Nashville. So I went to the Nashville area, and then God says, call this person.
Yeah.
I called him, and after calling a whole bunch of others, I called the person that God said, and the person called me back. And that's so odd. They don't never call you back, man. Wow. He called me back. And I said, man, what do I got to do to get you to read my book? He said, buy me some coffee. So I sent him some Starbucks cards in the mail.
Really?
Yeah. And 6 weeks later, he called me back. He says, man, I'm on my way to Huntsville to meet with you. Could you meet with me? We sat in Panera somewhere, and he was just asking me about everything except the book. And I was like, what is this about? And he said to me, I know you're wondering why I'm not asking you about your book. And I said, well, yeah. And he said, because the book is too good. And I don't believe that you wrote it. And if you did write the sample that you sent me, I don't think that you could continue writing at that level.
Wow.
So I pulled out the manuscript I had, and I read the rest of the book to him. And he signed me there and then to my first contract with a representative. Shopped the book around, and man, the story is so long, but it got to Thomas Nelson, and Thomas, loved the book. Thomas Nelson loved the book.
Right there in Nashville. I know where that place is.
Got to Thomas Nelson, and they said, man, we love this book. The only problem is we don't know who you are. Like, you don't got a big enough following. So they turned the book down, but they made some calls to a bunch of other literary agents and says, man, you need to pick up this book. Yeah. The guy that called me, Java, is this guy, Steve, I can't remember Steve's last name, but he was the agent for the entire Left Behind series. If you know anything about the Left Behind series.
Is it Tim Lahane?
No. He is his agent.
Okay.
And he was the person that, allowed us all to know about that series. And he says, man, I'm calling you. Nobody really knows who you are, but I'm calling you now because, man, Thomas Nelson is calling me about your book. So he says to me, man, who do you know? And I said, what do you mean? He says, Thomas Nelson doesn't call about authors, so you got to know somebody. Who do you know? And I said to him, Java, man, I know Jesus.
Yeah.
That's all I know. That's all I need to know.
Wow.
And the book was eventually picked up by FaithWords. And FaithWords is the third largest Christian publisher in the entire world. So this
Wow.
book was available on shelves in Pakistan, in England, and Australia, all over the world. And I've heard from people all over the world who've read it. Not Adventist people, not people who don't even go to church, that just said, man, this book is a part of our holiday tradition, and we're not even religious.
Wow. Listen, I'm blown away to hear this story because, I kind of know a little something about books. I don't know a whole lot. But when I saw this book, the finished product, I was blown away. I'm like, this is top shelf. And now I understand why. Because you top shelf. God has definitely favored you, man. And I really just I almost want to spoil the book for a moment because I can just hear a booyah right now. And listen, for those of my audience who are watching, you're going to have to read the book to understand the booyah, all right? So listen, Damien, man. So give us the story in the book that kind of opens everything up about this cricket tree.
Yeah. So every year my family buys a real Christmas tree. I'm not like the one behind me is real. We don't do plastic trees. That's not a real. If you got a plastic tree in your house, you need to celebrate Christmas like in March. Like you need the real thing. And so one year we go to a Christmas tree store, and it was always my kids' job to choose a tree. And my kids walked in, man, and they walked past all these gorgeous trees and walked to this ugly little something, bent up little something in the corner. And they said, man, this is a tree. We want this tree. And bro, I'm artistic, it got to be symmetrical. I'm thinking about, no, man, the branches, and the thing was so ugly, man. But my wife, she was like, the kids chose a tree. That's the tree they want. So, dude, I reluctantly had to pay for the doggone thing. And then we get home, and now I got to put this tree up. And everybody leaves me with this tree. And I'm angry. Like, I'm literally mad. Kids just threw stuff on it, and it just didn't look good, man. I put the lights on it and went to sleep. And I got up that night and walked out there and with the lights off in the house. And the tree was lit. And Java, no lie, man, that was the most beautiful tree I'd ever seen. I don't know what happened, but it was so beautiful. And the Holy Spirit started to speak to me, man. The tree was crooked, so in order to make it stand up, we took books and kind of put it under the legs of the tree to kind of prop it up, you know what I mean? Make it straight. And the Holy Spirit said to me, man, Damien, tree's beautiful, ain't it? I said, yeah, man. And then he says, what would it be like if this tree started to boast about how beautiful it was without talking about the books that is propping it up? I said, man, God, that would be foul. And then the Spirit came back and says, that's exactly the way it is in your life. People start to talk about how great you are and how wonderful your sermons are, how great of a father you are, husband, whatever. If you don't tell them that it's nothing but the grace of God propping you up, then you're just as foul as that tree.
Listen, at the end of the day, the story had a little comical twist to it, and you did have me laughing a few times, man. And this is one of them. You said only this realization stopped me from throwing myself on the floor, banging my head on the linoleum while screaming. Why this tree? You just could not understand why would your kids pick a cricket tree. You said, I remember lying on my back, on my back on a dark, cloudless night, looking out into the vastness of space. And then you said, I lay there lost in the fact that the earth was essentially invisible. Why would God choose to expand his greatest collateral on something so insignificant? And this is what you were just kind of in awe that just like your children picked a tree that had a crick in it, the same way God picked us, knowing fully that we were cricket. Talk to us right now just about the fact how God showed you yourself in the plight that we all find ourselves in through this tree.
Yeah, Java, he showed me a lot about me, and how he sees me, but he also showed me about how I see people, man.
Okay. Okay.
Man, Java, I could be the nicest person with my lips and the most judgmental person in my mind, man. There's certain people that I've just written off. You ain't never gonna do nothing. You ain't never gonna be nothing. You ain't worth my time. And with my mouth, and my mouth speaks holy words, but in my heart and in my mind and the way that I treat these people, I think that they know that, that I don't really see any value in them. And the Lord was rebuking me. He was like, "You wretch. Like, how is it possible that you see people that way when I know the truth about your own life? You're more crooked than any of them." Wow. Because they're crooked, and at least they're not afraid to show it. See, this tree that came to our house wasn't trying to pretend, wasn't trying to straighten up the branches or nothing. It's like, this is who I am. Yeah. At least the people, God was like, at least the people in the world are real with me and real with each other, saying, "Man, I'm crooked. This is who I am." But you walk around like if you're holier than thou, like if you're more spiritual than anybody. When I read your heart and I read your mind, so the Lord started to rebuke me about the way that I see others. In the same way that I struggled to receive this tree, Java, I've struggled to receive church members. I've struggled to receive friends. I've scoffed at people who sat down with me in classrooms. Man, I talked about people who didn't deserve my time. Like, it's just, no. When you realize what the grace that God has poured into your life, he says, to those who have received grace, they should be graceful, right? Yes. So if you are not graceful, you don't realize that you have been the top recipient of grace. And so I'm just grateful for that revelation in my life, and it has truly changed who I am and how I walk.
Wow. Listen, you know what? In your book, this is what you said, right? You said, instead of struggling, I found it was enough to say to myself, right? Yeah. That in some ways, God is like my kids, woefully attracted, right, to crooked trees.
Yeah, he is. That's what he is. And when you look throughout the Bible, you just see a God that is just constantly reaching out for crooked things and crooked people. You see a God that uses a teenager girl to bear his son. You see a God that just, that's just kind of who he is, and that's kind of what he does. He's a God that reaches out to a man like Moses, who's a murderer. He reaches out to Paul, who is, a persecutor. That's what God does. And that's what makes me excited about God. He doesn't need to work with the perfect in order to produce perfection. He works with the imperfect, and then he restores it and makes it beautiful so that he gets all the glory for it. So
listen, at the end of the day, this whole cricket Christmas tree, right? You found that in this tree, you began to see as it stood there watching you. This is what you said, that God is not ashamed to stand and watch our crookedness too. Yeah. There's this silent space, right, that goes along with this awkwardness you talked about. Yeah. When people realize their shame, their crookedness, sometimes we're not so readily able to embrace that crookedness.
Yeah.
Speak to us about this one incident where you said you stopped and talked to two individuals on a side of a step. Now, I'm not going to tell the story. I want you to tell the story.
Man, I was actually in I was in Orlando. I think I was at Patmos Chapel doing a week of prayer, and one of our friends would pick me up from the hotel every night to take me to the week of prayer. And man, after we passed under the highway, there was this real peculiar looking building on the right. So I asked him what it was, and he said, "Man, that's a strip club, and the strip club is called the Booby Trap." And the building actually looked like women's breasts. It was crazy, right? So every night for a week, I'm going past this building, and I don't know why my attention is being drawn to that space. And then I think the second to last night I was driving by there were some women sitting on the stairs, and the Holy Spirit said, "Yo, I need you to go over there and talk to those women." And I said, "God, that's just not going to work. I mean, like, come on, a pastor over there at the strip club, that's not going to look good." God said, "Damien, I need you to do what I'm asking you to do." So I told him, and he looked at me strange, pulled over, went over there. And I didn't know what to do, Java, man. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? These women are looking at me strange. And I just went over there and sat between them on the stairs, right? So I'm sitting between these two women. I don't know what to say. They don't know what to say. And I turned to one of them and I said, "So how you doing?" Right? The one on the right side of me like scooted over, like if I was trying to, do something, something strange. I was one of these sickos. But the one on the left said, "Man, I'm not doing well." I said, "What's going on?" And bro, she told me her whole story, life story, how she ended up in sex trafficking, how she ended up in stripping, and she told me that she wished that she could go back home, and she was praying to go back home. And she said to me on that stair, she was like, "Man, would you pray for me?" And man, that space became sanctuary. And we bowed our heads, man, and we prayed. And as soon as we were finished praying, this big bouncer dude came and opened up the door. He didn't say nothing to me, and she disappeared. When I got to the church that night, I challenged the church. I was like, "How dare you have a strip club down the street from you, and you guys are not surrounding that building in prayer? Why are we accepting that this darkness could exist on this street, in this area?" And man, we prayed down heaven, and I declared and I prophesied on that night that God was going to shut that place down.
Listen, David.
5 years later, one of the elders from the church sent me an article and says, "Pastor, you will never believe it." And the article was of bulldozers bulldozing the movie truck.
Wow.
The government bought it and said, "We don't want it in our neighborhood no more," and shut it down.
So you're on the way to this revival.
Yes.
And you see these two women
Yes.
of the night
Yes.
standing in front of the building where they work.
Yes.
And instead of going to preach, right, you tell the preacher who's escorting you to stop over there because God is calling me to speak to them.
Yeah.
And you said in your book, you said, "I knew that revival had already happened." And it happened on the stairs of a strip club. Yeah. I mean, this is so funny. Then you said, "I just stood there awkward, but I had learned many years ago from one of the wisest men I ever met, a homeless man in Franklin, Tennessee, that it is the arrogance of Christians that drives us to talk. It is wiser to listen. So I stood what probably just a few seconds felt like an eternity. I stood between these two women, one on the right, and you said the other on the left. And then you said, so we stood, me and my tree, we stood in silence." So you liken standing with these two women the same way when you looked up at this tree and you said, "Why in the world did my kids pick this crooked Christmas tree?"
Yes.
But therein you saw the beauty that as mankind, we are all flawed. We are all kind of like that crooked Christmas tree.
Yeah.
But God doesn't leave us naked.
No.
Tell us the joy you had when you finally decided that this is my tree and it's in my house.
Oh man. I really struggled. Like, this is a real story. I mean, I really struggled. In fact, I found a picture of the tree the other day. My kids found the picture and they're like, "Daddy, that's the tree." I really struggled with it, man. I struggled with it. And then after a while, I started to think it through. I was like, man, I already paid for it. And I didn't get no discount. It wasn't 20% off. I paid the full price for it. So if I paid for the full price for it, it belongs to me. And if it belongs to me, then I need to make it work, right? And then God started to speak back to me, and that's exactly what I did. I paid the the full price for you.
Yeah.
For an effective product. You know, and all of the universe thought that God was crazy, paying full price for something that was already broken. But Java, I bless him because he knows how to take broken things and make them beautiful, right? Yeah. And so that's what he did in my life. And in that moment, that tree was mine, man.
It was yours. It was yours.
Don't take it back.
It was yours. You said I was unable to leave the tree like that. It was in my house. And in my house, the condition of my tree was a reflection on me. No matter the tree's history, as long as it was in my house, it was my issue. So you took responsibility and you dressed it up. You know, Pastor Chandler, tell us how God dresses us up. I mean, the joy in decorating a tree, how God will cover our nakedness.
Oh man. Ain't it beautiful?
It's beautiful.
Like, I mean, Java, you know, when I look at you, man, I see a brother that's successful, a brother that's, you know, a parent to kids and a husband to your wife and all that. But bro, you just dressed up crookedness, right? If it wasn't for the grace of God, if God were to reveal who we really are, man, like he takes us, these broken things, and he puts lights on us, man. He puts bulbs on us. He puts a star on us, man. He puts some shine on us. He makes us beautiful. Then he waters us, because with a real with a real tree, you got to water it. And then you got to put some fertilizer in there so that it stays nice and green. And when you do that, the tree is fragrant. You can always tell when somebody has a real tree in their house, Christmas tree in their house, because the whole house smells good.
I'm going to buy me
so
one.
When God does that in our lives, man, he makes the whole thing smell good. He makes you look better than you really are. So it only makes sense when somebody asks you, where's all this stuff come from? It's the same grace, God's grace. Grace that can pardon and cleanse within. That's all it is. It's just the grace of God.
You know, as we begin to wrap this up, you know, you said, like Adam and Eve, we lose our innocence, our pawning freedom for sin's bondage. Sins cause us shame. Shame introduces fear of exposure. So when God comes looking, walking in the cool of the garden, he finds us hiding in the shade of trees, far from the light, no longer dancing, naked in freedom. We now hide in shame, prompting the question, who told you you were naked? And so then you said, we are inevitably exposed. Will we run and hide, or forgetting shame stand like the crooked Christmas tree? You know, even as we stand, our knees wobble at the thought of rejection. This is our true fear. We fear that causes us to shrink back. So, you know, in this crookedness and how we decorate the Christmas tree is just how, you know, we decorate ourselves, right? Trying to hide that crookedness, that shame, in fear of rejecting that people may not accept us for who we really are. Yeah. Just like you didn't want to accept this crooked Christmas tree when you went to the store to buy this sprawling, beautiful, perfect tree. You wanted it perfect. But you got it crooked.
You know.
Yeah,
man. You know, it's funny because right now, the way that we live, who leaves the house without a mask? Now, back in the day, I would see a few people, you know, from other countries, and they'd be wearing masks. Java, I always thought that they were strange. But right now, everybody leaves home with masks. I was thinking the other day, I was like, man, that's not new. We've been leaving our houses with masks our entire lives.
Yes.
We've been covering up who we are and what we do and our emotions. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Listen, man, our time is fleeting, but I've got to make sure we touch on this last point. This is what you said. You said, a lighted mess is what I am. He chose me, redeemed me, and left no evidence of my troubled beginning. By grace, he propped me up and then did something crazy. He put his light on a crooked tree and said, now go light up the world. I mean, you were upset that you got this crooked Christmas tree, but when you dressed it up, when you put the star on the top, when you said booyah, you made it what you wanted to be while it was inside of your house, and then you turned the lights on. That's what God does to us. Bring us home, man. Tell us the story of Jesus, man, and how he puts his light on crooked trees.
Oh, man, I know that our time is up. We got into this. We got excited. 30 minutes went so quickly. But I'm talking to someone right now who has low self-esteem. I'm speaking to someone right now who's, man, you don't think that you have anything to offer. You don't think that you're anything worth having. Man, give your life to Jesus. Watch God put his light on you. Watch him decorate you. Watch him pull things out of you that you didn't even know that were there. Because the God who created you knows what you were created for. And there's no good thing that he's going to hold back from you. So listen, whoever you are that's listening to me right now, man, give your life to Jesus. Watch him light you up. And he's going to do amazing and beautiful things with you. He's going to shock the world. So I'm inviting every single crooked Christmas tree out there, every single person that has all those negative thoughts in your mind, bring them. Don't be ashamed of them. Bring them with you and watch God turn every single negative thought into a fruitful garden for his glory. I can't wait to see what God is going to do with you, all y'all crooked Christmas trees.
Listen, I tell you the truth. This book is amazing. I hope that you have gone and clicked the link so you can get it. Just know, friends of mine, as Pastor Chandler said, his beauty on your crookedness. And that crookedness is a necessary part of the narrative. For the beauty of stars is best seen on the darkest nights. Well, my friends, it's our time. I'm so glad that you've tuned in. I want you to go to the website, right? Go to the website, secsda.org, and you're going to be able to order this book on today. I'll put it up for you, the link. We're going to send it to you free. If you're not able to get the free copy, please go to Amazon.com, put in Crooked Christmas Tree. Pastor Damian Chandler, you're going to see it. Get your hard copy. I've got a hard copy and I've got a Kindle version. I just love the Kindle version as well. On next week, we are going to have another awesome time with Pastor Lola Moore. She has her book, Pursue. God is relentless in his pursuit of you. Your crookedness, God is bent to decorate you with his glory. God bless you. I hope you had a great time. And this is our show, Book It. Have a great evening.